Hello friends, this is Avnish and in this video we'll see how to interact with databases in natural language using AI agents. So now let's move on to Visual Studio Code. So this is the architecture. Here as you can see we have a SQLite database and then we are creating our database agent using Azure OpenAI based model and RAG mechanism. And we are using Azure OpenAI APIs to invoke the base model and we have put all our code into a notebook. So this is the architecture. Now let me show you the data on which we are going to work. This is the data. This data is about COVID-19 and it contains records about how many hospitalizations were done across all the states in US and other data as well. And now let's move on to the setup part, how we are going to set up this thing. So we need to set few environment variables like Azure OpenAI endpoint and Azure OpenAI API key for authentication purpose. And to get these values, we have to create an account on Azure by visiting the portal.azure.com, and we might get free credits as well there. Once there, then we have to create an Azure OpenAI resource. So that's the prerequisite part, the setup part. Now moving on to the notebook. Okay, just a minute. Yes. So first is the setup part. In the setup part, we are importing the Python packages, including LangChain packages. And then here in this step, we are loading the entire CSV file into our data frame. So our data frame name is df. Then here we are creating a SQLite database and we are loading the data frame into the SQLite database in a table called all states history. So this is mostly boilerplate code. So 20,780 records have been loaded in the database. Then here we are writing the prompts. So this prompt is about the instructions. So the instructions are like these. You are an agent designed to interact with a SQL database. Then there are more instructions here that given an input question, create a syntactically correct query to run, then look at the results of the query and return the answer. So primarily what we are saying to the agent is that it has to create a syntactically correct query, it has to run that query and return the output. So similarly, we have multiple instructions here. So as part of this instruction, we are specifying how to order the results. Here we are specifying how to filter the results. Like we are saying not to show all the columns, but only a specific number of columns. Here we are saying not to make any, not to fire any DML statements because we don't want to alter the original database. So similarly, there are other instructions here that do not make up an answer or use prior knowledge. Only use the results of the calculations you have done. We want to avoid hallucination. Then there are other instructions as well that always as part of final answer explain how you got to the answer. Okay, so we are saying that it should explain how it reached to that answer. So these are some of the instructions which we are giving to the agent. In the next step, we have again a prompt, and this prompt is about the formatting. So this is the format in which it has to return the things, the agent has to return the things and the final output as well. So this is the sequence. First is question, the question which we are going to ask to the agent. Next is thought. This is the thought process of the agent. Next is action, the action which agent is going to take. Next is action input. So this is the input to the action. And then the observation, which is nothing but the output. So agent might execute these steps multiple times like thought, action, action input, observation. and then thought, this one, I now know the final answer, and then the final answer. We are giving a one example as well here. So it includes action, action input, observation, okay, thought, I now know the final answer, and then the final answer. And it is and we are giving the explanation as well as part of example, and then the final query. So this is the example. So what we are giving is we are giving an example, we are giving format instructions, and we are giving general instructions to the agent. Now moving on, here we are setting the, we are initializing the parameters to the model LLM. These are the parameters which contains API version. Then we have deployment name, Azure OpenAI endpoint, API key for authentication purpose. Then we are setting the temperature as well to 0. This is the configuration parameter, and then the maximum tokens, which is 500. Then in the next step, we are creating a SQL database instance. The name is DB from the file. And then in the next step, we are creating a SQL database toolkit instance to interact with database using the LLM. And this needs two parameters. One is DB, this comes from here, and the other is LLM, which comes from here. Then here this is the question. Question is, how many patients were hospitalized during October 2020 in New York and nationwide as a total of all states? Use the hospitalized increase column. So there are two questions here. One is about New York and other is about all the states in the US. Then here we are creating a SQL agent, a database agent, and it needs certain parameters like prefix, format instructions, LLM, toolkit, verbose, and top K. Then here we are triggering the question. So this is the output. It has given the output here. Just a minute. Yes. So primarily what it does is it has fired the query. It has returned the query to us, which it has fired, and it has fired two queries because there were two questions. One question is about the New York. Other question is about all the states in the US. So there you will see that there are two queries in the output. First is this one, select some hospitalized increase from all states, history, where state is New York and date like this. And this is the second query. This query is about all the states in US. Select some hospitalized increase from all states, history, where date like this. So it has returned two queries. It has fired two queries against the question. Okay, and here you can see that it has returned the final output as well. During October 2020, there were 0 patients hospitalized in New York. According to the hospitalized increase column, nationwide, there was a total of 53,485 patients hospitalized during the same period. Okay, and it has used the same format like action, action input, again action, action input multiple times. As you can see here, action, action input, again action, action input. So what we have seen is that it has returned SQL query. It has fired that SQL query against the database to answer our question. So we need not use SQL query to ask things from a database. We can even use natural language if we are making use of database agents. So that's it from this video. I hope you like the video. I'll attach this notebook to the description section for your reference. Thank you.